Are you trying to find the system that keeps you writing? Are you trying to figure out how can you repeat the process of writing over and over? Once you finish a book, how do you start the next one? I want to say, as I get back on this writing journey, as I get back on this fiction writing journey, I am really going back to the basics, and I want to share with you how you can continue to write once you have finished a book. Hi, my name is Aisha, and my mission is to mobilize you, the Christian writer, so that you can share your unique voice with the world. I will be bringing you writing tips and godly encouragement. Before we get started, I just want to remind you that your sisters in Christ are waiting for you in the Writing with Power community. We are there encouraging each other in the Lord, and we are encouraging each other in our writing journeys. Why don't you come join us? It is free to join, and I am leaving the information for you in the description box. So I've said it in my last few videos, I have not written fiction for over 2 years. And as I get back to writing again, I need something that I can replicate over and over and over, or I can repeat over and over. That is why I constantly go back to starting with brainstorming. I am going to think about my characters. I'm going to think about my setting. I'm going to think about the plot. What are the things that I want in each of my stories? So I am going to brainstorm ideas. Usually when I'm brainstorming, I might just start writing examples of dialogue that I may feel like I'm hearing from characters, or I'll start thinking about characters and describing my characters. What motivates them? What issues do they experience that may make the reader say, oh, this character needs Jesus? And of course, I know we all need Jesus, and that's why I really enjoy writing real characters. I like to show my characters with issues that remind us that we can overcome situations, we can overcome trials. Usually I have a journal or some type of writer's notebook where I can keep this information all together so I can always refer back to it. And I always talk about outlining. I usually get some note cards and I just write down what I think will happen throughout the story. I'll put them on a cork board, and that way I can always refer back to them. And that is my outlining. I've used the book Save the Cat, but I've also just had my note cards in order where I can look back and say, okay, I want this to happen next, this to happen next. And with that, I am planning on how my story will flow. And I'll be honest with you, I don't always stick to this plan because usually my characters reveal themselves more as I write. So I just want to have just a basic outline that I can follow so I know the direction that I want to go in the story. I want to always know where I was planning to go when I started the story. Now, with the next part, with writing, I just allow myself to write. And usually for me, I don't necessarily write in order. I may have scenes that I see in my mind, scenes in my imagination, where I just start writing, and I will take some time to just write the scene. I won't judge myself. I won't judge the characters. I will just take some time to write, and whatever comes to mind, I am going to write at that time. When I am in the writing portion of this system, of this process, I just want to allow my imagination to create, and I don't want it to be where I'm hindering the writing process. And I'll be honest, sometimes as I'm writing, I'll say, this is not good at all. But one thing that I have to remind myself over and over is that ideas expand. I may repeat words over and over as I am in this writing process. But once I get to the editing part of the process, that's when things start to become beautiful. That's when I focus on beefing up the characters. That's when I focus on making sure that the story truly flows in the way that it should. If I need to move things around, if I need to move scenes from the beginning to the end or from the end to the beginning, that's when the beauty of writing really takes place. So, yes, when I am in the writing portion, I am just going to write. Whatever is there, writing a rough draft is always messy. But when I get to editing, that's when I clean up the mess. That's when I make things beautiful. And of course, we know we can't get to the editing part if we don't have anything to work with. We can have a lot of words, but when we get to the editing part of the process, that's when we find the diamonds in the rough. That's when we find the gold mine. That's when our characters become real. So after I have edited, I have revised, I am really going to be thinking about publishing. Now, with the series that I am writing, this is actually going to be an online series. It's not going to be in book form. It will be exclusively in my community. So when that is released, of course, I will let everyone know about it. So when I release this, the plan is that it will be fully under my control and I will be able to interact with the readers of this series. But when you're thinking about publishing, you may not want yours to be an online series. And there are places where you can publish, like Ingram Spark, and you can also publish with Lulu. There are so many places out there that you can publish your work. And I just always encourage those who are self-publishing to learn more about self-publishing. Like if you're going to do an ebook, you don't necessarily have to have an ISBN. But if you are going to release your book as a physical book, you want your own ISBN. You can get free ISBNs through Ingram Spark and other places like that. But when you do that, you are releasing your book under their imprint instead of it being your own imprint where you can decide where to distribute. And with those places, they have amazing distributor partnerships. So I would just suggest checking in, asking questions, and finding out about how your book would be distributed. So just to kind of say again, you can publish online or you can make an ebook, which is something where someone would get a PDF, or you can publish your book as a physical book. So let's recap. If you are wanting to figure out a process, a system of how to continue writing, I do suggest the writing process. You are starting with brainstorming. You're getting your ideas out on the page instead of just keeping them in your head. Because when you get them out on the page, you can see them. And it's great that we have imaginations, but our brains are not meant to hold everything. So brainstorm, have a writer's notebook, have a section for characters, have a section for plots and settings. Those are ways where you can keep everything together and you can always refer back to it. Also, you're going to plan in some way. You're going to outline. I said before that I use note cards. I am just kind of old-fashioned that way, but I use note cards and I will just write some ideas out on a card and I try to keep them in order, and that's usually my plan. I will also place them up on a cork board so that I can always see them. But you can also do this digitally. I use the Living Writer app and they have multiple outlines that you can try out in their app, and I will leave that information in the description box for you as well, because you can get a free trial and see how that app would work for you. And of course, after outlining comes writing. And when you are writing, you don't want to judge yourself. You just want to get the ideas out. The writing process is messy. It's not going to be beautiful. You may look at your characters and decide that you just don't like them, but keep writing. Ideas expand. And as the ideas expand, your characters start to come to life even more. And then once you feel like you have come to a point where you can stop writing, then you're going to start thinking about the editing process. And when I say the writing process is messy, the editing part is where you're going to start making everything beautiful. You're going to make sure that your story flows, make sure that your characters are relatable. You're going to add scripture based instruction, especially as a Christian fiction writer. In the editing process, everything is just going to start to come together from the beginning to the end. And after editing, then you're going to publish. You're going to decide, is it going to be a physical book? Is it going to be an ebook? Are you going to write something online? I really hope talking about this system, talking through this system, is motivational for you. I pray that it mobilizes you to move forward in your writing journey. I just want to remind you that your sisters in Christ are waiting for you in the Writing with Power community. Come join us and let's write together. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe. I release videos on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. and on Saturdays at 3 p.m., and that is Central Time. Go ahead and subscribe so that you can be notified when new videos are released. It is always a pleasure talking with you here. I look forward to talking with you soon. Until next time, happy writing.